Okay, what we have here today is the new RX3. My wife and I just picked it up. It's her bow. It's a 70-pound bow. It's beautiful, but we got it home and we realized that the pro shop didn't quite align the rest very well. I just shot it and saw a bunch of tail wag with the fletches, and I realized if we actually ended up paper tuning this right now, it would be a disaster. So, I'm not a professional archer, but I've been hunting my whole life since I've been 13. And I've seen a bunch of videos on YouTube, and all from professionals, on how to basically properly align this rest with this bow. And typically they tell you to take a ruler like this. They'll tell you to measure here between the riser and the arrow, and then here between the riser and the center of the arrow, and make sure they're equidistant, and that should be pretty well close to aligned. Here's the problem. For me as a scientist and a robot builder, that's not quite as accurate as I'd like to have on my bow or my wife's bow. I'm kind of meticulous about this stuff, so I wanted to come up with a new technique on how could you actually center this rest to this bow, these cams, and make it all in the same plane. And that's the key. That's the big key. Is you have one plane, and this plane is defined by this cam, and this string. So you really want to kind of make sure that this arrow is being placed in that plane. As it creates motion, as this arrow begins to create, the string begins to create motion, this arrow stays in that plane. So, how did I do that? A little outside the box. I haven't seen anybody quite do this yet, so I want to post it on YouTube and kind of get it out there. It's kind of unique. I put a string here at the end of this limb pocket, and I brought that string all the way down to this limb pocket, and I taped it. You'd think that, oh yeah, you might want to put it on center, but that's actually not the case if you want to create this same plane, and here's why. This cam is not on center to these limbs, and this cam's not on center to these limbs. This cam is actually 3.5 millimeters off center. So what I did was, in that same direction, I taped this string 3.5 millimeters off center. I came all the way down and taped it and kind of made it tight, and taped this one 3.5 millimeters off center. Now what I have is my bowstring and my cams, my two cams, in the same plane as my reference string. Now I call that my reference string. That reference string now makes a perfect plane, and you can actually look down your bow, close one eye, and you can actually make sure that this plane is all one plane with this string, and these cams. And it really is. You can actually use your eye and look up and down, all the way up here, all the way down, and you'll see that that's a perfect plane reference. It's fantastic. Then you take an arrow like this one that's missing a fletch, you don't need anymore, and you cut it down in size so it fits just before this string, and you put it in your bow. And you'll see, this is how I got this from the pro shop. This is how we got it back. You'll see this is the string creating my plane, and this is where this arrow is rested by this rest. So you'll see that this arrow is about a 1/2 centimeter to 3/4 centimeter off center. So when this string is pushing this arrow down with this rest, it's pushing this arrow out to the left, which is creating this tail wagging. It would create a horrible paper tuning scenario. So this is what it should look like. This rest should make this arrow like that. If this rest made this arrow like that, then as you pull back and as that string is released, it's pushing that arrow in perfect alignment, in perfect plane with this cam and this cam. And that's how you, in my opinion, more accurately make sure that your rest is properly aligned left and right for your bow. Now, down the road, you'll have to do some more fine tuning and paper tuning, but this is a pretty good way to start and make sure that your bow and your rest are properly aligned. Over and